Hello Kindred Spirits, and welcome back to Bits and Bob's Divination here with me, Caitlin. Today we are going to be diving into a more magical subject of my handmade stamp collection, learning how you can carve your own and how you can use them for your own art magic. So let's get right into it. Alright, so welcome back my beautiful kindred spirits, and anyone new who may be joining us here on the channel for the first, second, or third time. It's really nice to have you guys here. I typically am doing pick a card readings or other charm casting videos, but today I really wanted to dive into more of my art magic and get into the meat of it, and for this it is rubber stamps. So if that's something you're interested in, obviously stay tuned, as I'm going to be talking about those in a second. But if you're interested in those pick a card readings, if you're interested in more of the art magic that I get up to, I have an entire playlist over here of all the art magic videos, including the art magic Grimoire, or the Grimoire tour that I've recently done as a big update to my first tour, that I really think you're gonna like if you like these. So definitely feel free to check out the playlist, and if you like the stuff that's here, feel free to subscribe and join on in. I also want to point out that this isn't the first stamp collection video or the first art magic video on YouTube. I have a lot of different people that I've been inspired by in the past, which I'll have listed down below. Molly Roberts, Corrigan, Vervain, Elderberry Sprout, right? There's a lot of different art magic videos out there, as well as many others who have been inspiring me, which I'll have all listed down below in the description. So if you want to see that big list of those who have inspired me, definitely feel free to check it out down below, because lots of wonderful, amazing artists and magic to be shared there. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of this and just talk about what's inside this tin. So in here is a little Singer tin. I don't remember where I got it from, possibly a grandma, I'm not entirely sure, but it's the perfect tin to hold all of my different stamps. So this is where I've been holding them all. I'm gonna go ahead and move this stuff out of the way so you guys can see and show examples of how I've been using these stamps, because right, I can show you how to carve a stamp, but we're also going to look into how I actually use them. And so let's get right into it. Should I just dump them? I feel like I should just dump them. I'm just kind of testing all of this out. I don't tend to do a lot of art magic videos on here as often, and so it might be a little bit rambly, so feel free to get yourself a little drink or whatever you'd like. But let's just dump them. Let's just dump them. I'm just gonna dump them right here. So these are all of the handmade stamps that I've created. It's not a ton of them because it took me a while before I could afford getting more of the tools and supplies I needed to make more. But as you can see, I've got lots of little baby stamps, as well as much bigger, larger stamps to work with as well. So I'm going to move these around a little bit and kind of just talk you through how I like to use these. So I personally am... I love to use them obviously just for the decor and beauty and aesthetics of stamps, and they're also really easy ways to kind of put in your own energy and power into a symbol. So a lot of these I use as symbols in a way almost like you'd use a sigil. So if you guys are familiar with sigils, these are kind of like rubber stamp sigils that I like to use a lot, especially when connecting with different kinds of animal energy in my magic. So a lot of the time in my grimoire, this is my grimoire, like I said, I have an entire flip through somewhere up here, or it'll be listed down below, or both in the description, showcasing this entire grimoire. But as you can see, a lot of the time, I like to work with different energies of these stamps. So I have different stamps here to showcase the energy of the Aurora Borealis. I have lots of different stamps in here to showcase the energy of the new moon that I was working on, and I wanted to showcase what energy I was working with. When it came to around Mabon, I was really working with cicada energy, so I wanted to work with the energy of the cicada. And instead of creating a sigil to represent protection or to represent love or prosperity, I like to work rather with the animal energy, and so that is my way of working with them. But I think it's amazing when you make sigils as well that you can use and charge up. So when it comes to each of these, not only do I carve them with the intention of the animal that I'm working with, or with the sun energy that I'm working with, but I also like to cleanse them as well as charge them. So you could charge these under the moon, you could charge them under the sun, as I've done with this one on the solar eclipse, and many different kinds of ways to charge and work with them. So I'm going to stop rambling, let's just get right into it. So where should we start? This is the most recent one that I've done, as we just came out of the Halloween Samhain season. So I had to create a little jack-o'-lantern because I do have this one as well as this tiny little pumpkin, but since I've been getting more opportunities to create larger stamps, I thought this was the perfect one to make a big jack-o'-lantern. Perfect for protection and a really good symbol as well to work with the energy of the pumpkin. So those are two of the ones that I have more recently created, although this one's been a while. Some of the animals that I really like to have that contrast with as well are the moth and butterfly stamps. Let me find our moth here. So the moth energy and the butterfly energy both talk about transformation. And so with this moth and this butterfly, they're different kinds of transformation. I find that the butterfly shows an outwards transformation, where the moth shows more of an inward transformation. So a lot of the time when I'm using them in my grimoire, I'll use them in pages like this one, where I talked about my tarot spread for the year. The first half of the year was a lot of inward growth, so I had a lot of symbols to showcase that. And then when I got to more outward growth, I wanted to bring forth symbols of fertility, new beginnings with the bunny, as well as the symbol of the outward growth with the butterfly. So that's another way that you can create contrast too when it comes to your symbols, not just creating a butterfly for transformation, but the nuance of that transformation. Is it outward? Is it inward? Things like that. I've done similar things here with the more recent ones that I've carved of the toad as well as the frog, having very different energies, but similar as well. So I've been working with the toad and frog energy recently. Also, the way that I carve these, I like to add symbols like this one with the sun in the middle, as well as this one with the moon, to show that inward and outward balance as well. Speaking of the sun and the moon, I do have a sun, as I've shown before, as well as a moon stamp. This one gets a lot of use as I use it on all of my snail mail readings. I just really like it as a symbol, and it was one of the very first ones I ever carved, as was this one. So I really like to work with those energies. I think those are great ones to create if you're a beginner. Working with the moon phases are a really great one. I haven't done that yet, but I want to create an entire set of moon phases. I think creating a set of sigils or ones of the runes even would be a really good option as well to play around with. As I mentioned earlier, I have a cicada one here. This is one of the more detailed ones that I've created. It's very small, very detailed, different pieces and parts to carve. I've also created ones that weren't specifically for Magick. This one was actually for a friend, where this is like a saying that we say to each other, but it's important if you end up writing anything on with words that you mirror it. Whatever you're going to have to carve, as you can see, it's going to be mirrored when you place it down on the paper. So that's really, really important and a really good pro tip. It sucks to do and create an entire design and then realize that when you paste it down it's backwards. What are the other animal energies here? As I mentioned, I have like a coyote. It does look like a wolf, but I use it as coyote energy. I have an entire page on coyotes. I've been really working with the coyote energy over the last year and a half. So that's been coming forward. And then I have a little bunny as well that's perfect around the Ostara and spring season. I also like to work with the snake energy. I have one on a snake and a little spider, which I know not everybody loves spiders, so I won't keep it on the screen too long, but I tried to create a really cute big booty spider, as I find spiders are great to use for creativity and to weave things together. It's really good for that. I almost use these like as spell ingredients in a way, right? Since art magic is a lot more obscure and it's a lot harder than just being like, 1 teaspoon of, paprika and a dash of some rosemary or whatever it is. This is my way of like adding a dash of this, a little bit of that, and mixing it all together to create sort of different types of spells and different energies that I'm weaving together. So that's a great one to utilize. I also have the bear, I almost called it a charm, the bear stamp here with the Aurora Borealis, which I really wanted to create. If you guys have ever watched Brother Bear, that's what inspired this one. I know that you can have like the foxfire when it comes to the Aurora, but I really felt called to the bear, so that's the way I wanted to showcase it. I also have ones that aren't obviously animals, and I have ones related to the different trees that I work with, which is another great way to work with these as well, is tree energy. And so in this case I have a green ash, a honey locust, and a blue spruce. I want to do other ones like oak and things like that. I have a little bit of other ones, but they're very, very small, right? So I have different kinds of leaves here, as well as like acorns and stuff, showcasing them as well. So I have like just a very standard leaf here, if it'll turn over for you, a standard sort of leaf design here. I also have a standard one here that's just kind of generic, but I also have like an oak leaf, a little acorn, more green ash, and I also like to work with the energy of the cottonwoods. So I have the cottonwood trees as well, and those work really well. These are great for borders, especially if you want to like border in the energy of a spell that you're working on, or trying to make it sort of protected by a certain energy. I think that works really well, especially protective trees such as like oak. Going around a spell with an oak leaf would be really, really useful. And like I said, you can charge these under an oak tree, right? You could ask for them to bless it. These are great ways to work with them. This I think is just like a random piece that kind of got caught in there. I have tiny little snakes and little pieces. As you can see, I don't like to waste any tiny little piece. There's lots of these that are just kind of little offcuts that I've been utilizing. But I also have like this little tiny air charm that I like to, or oh my gosh, I keep wanting to call them charms, air rubber stamp for the air element, but also for the clouds of things changing and moving, maybe trying to change my mind on something. I got this idea for this specific stamp or set of stamps with these tiny little both dagger and sword from Vervain the Roses. I don't remember what her exact username is on YouTube, but she did a entire spell where she utilized these to sort of block off and protect energy from the rest of her grimoire or her junk journal, and I thought that was really, really clever. I also like to work with mushrooms, so I have like these little teeny mushrooms. I really like using this one with my toad. And I have these teeny little eyes, which I've been putting a lot more into my magic. I just feel like eyes showcase that I am present in whatever I'm stamping, right? It just sort of means that I'm awake, I'm very present, I'm still working on these things, right? That's kind of the way that I see it. I have this little star as well, and lots of little teeny ones, like this little hand. Some of the offcuts get really weird and you get these tiny little ones like this one with this little bird. I also have a set of hands. I kind of wish I had done a right and a left hand, but it just sort of worked out this way where they're both the same direction. But I did one with the eye, but I also did this one where I always get this symbol to come forward a lot for me, which is like the symbol of creation, like to create something from the palm of your hands. So I really liked that one. And I use that a lot when I'm trying to bring forth creativity or trying to bring forth that fiery element. I think doing elemental symbols would be really useful in things like this. But like you can see, I use a lot of more earth magic-y things here. I'm very much an earth magic kind of witch. I also have a little rainbow, which is really great for rainbow energy or queer energy. And I also have this teeny tiny key. And the reason why I want to speak about this key is because I'm actually going to show you guys now how to create your own stamp, as well as how to utilize these, right? I showed a couple of examples, but I wanted to showcase not only how you can create your own stamp, what supplies to use and things like that, but also how I've used them in the past outside of my grimoire and my art magic in that sense. I've created like these little garland bunting sort of pieces that I put on my altar space. I have them kind of made this way, right, with like a little hole punched, but on the other side you could write symbols, you could have sigils on the other side, you can write an intention on each of these and then hang them up, and I think that would be really good, especially if you could put it on a window or something that got air moving with them. I think that would be really, really great. And when it comes to deciding the symbols I like to create, I tend to do it based off of my readings a lot of the time. So like one of the readings that I've had in the past, the main symbol that I had coming forward, our main oracle message was a crow. And so I haven't created a crow one, but you could have easily created a crow or created something else based off of that. I've had that in the past when it comes to like the rainbow magic, or when it comes to wanting to work with the aurora borealis, using whatever it is that you are inspired by as a way and as a opportunity to work with your stamps even further and to create stamp designs that are more unique to you, right? Connecting not only the palm of the hand but also the fire element together. It's not just a bug or whatever it is, it's specifically a moth, and in that moth I have specific symbols inside of it to add layer upon layer upon layer. I hope I'm making sense here. I feel like I'm kind of rambling, but the point is there's really no limit to what you create and what you design. When it comes to actually stamping these, I'll go ahead and stamp one. Which one should we do? I think I'm gonna do our little toad here. I'm just really feeling this toad energy, or maybe the bear, maybe both. Let's go ahead and do it, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and clean these up real quick. Hopefully I didn't miss any really important ones. Some of the small ones are just like little stars and, like I said, little tiny offcuts. I also sometimes just use little offcuts to make these little shadow creatures, but the offcuts are just because I don't like to waste my supplies. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these in real quick, and then I will show you what it is that I do when it comes to stamping them. Okay, so I just grabbed this little scrap piece of paper that I have from like packaging and stuff, which I totally recommend to use for your own art magic. I use this kind of brown paper all the time. But what we're gonna do is showcase how you can stamp these. So before you even stamp them, there are a couple of things you can do. First, when it comes to creating them, you can utilize different techniques to create the design, but once you have the design, once you've carved it, you can then take these stamps and you can put them under the moon. You can bless them by a tree. You can infuse them with oils, although do be careful if the oil will mess with the rubber itself. You can charge them under a crystal grid. You can do all sorts of things, just like you would charge jewelry, just like you would, bless different tools. There's so many different ways you can work with them. But when it comes to cleansing them and utilizing them for your magic, say I really wanted to work with the aurora borealis, I can, really put my hands over the stamp and really set my intention into that specific stamp. Not only the stamp as a whole, but the exact way in which you want to utilize it this go around. So maybe it's the magic of the aurora borealis that you want to really pull from. Maybe it's the ancestral connection. Maybe it's something else. But regardless, really setting that intention could be really useful when it comes to each time you use the stamp. Also, the maintenance when it comes to utilizing these stamps. I have a whole bunch of different little bottles over here, and each one have different magical waters. So this specific one has moon water in it, which is a very common one to use. But you can also use like blizzard water, you can use snow water, solar eclipse water, you can use rain water. A lot of the time I use rainwater. But what I'd like to do is set that intention. And then when you're done setting your intention, these are the two kinds of stamp pads that I like to use. We're going to use pine cone here. But what we're going to do is take this ink, and you can also charge the ink, by the way. But what I'm going to do is just really keep pressing my intention in. And then I like to obviously press that intention down very tightly, very deeply. Sometimes I even meditate with just my hand over the top before I lift it up to really put in my intention. And then when I lift up, the intention is set. And when it comes to this, right, you can do this multiple times, but because you can utilize stamps so many different times, it's really important to cleanse them as well. And so I just wanted to showcase both of them since I have them out here. But what you can do with each of these is then cleanse them when you're done with the water. So what I like to do is just take a drop or two of the water. In this case, I'm going to use moon water, and just drop it on top of the stamp. And then you can take a cloth, you can take a paper towel, whatever you'd like. This is one of my trusty cloths, and you can just clean them off. And so that's what I like to do to keep them all nice and clean and fresh. And it's a way to also continue to add, you can even charge it versus cleanse it with those different waters. So there's a lot of different ways that you can utilize them. I've already got water on my little stamp here, but there's a lot of different ways in which you can cleanse them, utilize them. I hope I've given you some ideas already, but let's go ahead and start creating our own stamp, right? So remember when I was talking about that tiny little key stamp that I had? Well, the stamp that I've decided to create with you all today is of a key. Not only a key, but also a lock. And I went ahead and created these designs on my own, but I would say that when it comes to creating your own designs, it's really useful to have some sort of parchment paper or clear paper. This is tracing paper from Canson. I only just had some left over from art school. And what you can do with these is not only create your own design, which when it comes to creating your own design, I would say if you're going to sell these, definitely be sure that you're using free sources and stuff from the public domain, things like that. Definitely be sure if you're going to be outlining or using silhouettes or things like that. But if you're even just doing this for yourself, it's important to put credit where credit is due. But I would say when it comes to these, it's really useful to me, especially when I was doing like animal designs, is to look up the animal, maybe draw around them, add your own quirks and details. But I also would say that finding silhouettes are really useful, especially if you're a beginner. Because when it comes to creating a stamp, there's always two different parts to a stamp, right? You have the part that you carve out and the part that stays. And so whatever you're carving out isn't going to, stamp. And everything that is raised and that you don't touch will be the things that are visible. So no matter what you do, there's always going to be something raised and something below. And there's really no in between. So whatever you're carving, you have to be really sure of it. And I find that silhouettes are a great way, whatever you're looking up for, right? Frog silhouettes, bunny silhouettes, whatever it is, using a free source, of course. You can then go around those sources. You can trace from them, draw from them, and then add your own quirks and details to work with. In this case, I kind of went for more of a key that I had in my childhood, so I didn't really use a silhouette. I used inspiration off of Pinterest and things, but that's kind of what I did. And then with the keyhole was similar. But what I also wanted to point out, and this took me a long time to figure out, by the way, instead of trying to erase all the little white lines that I have here to showcase the things that I'll carve on the inside of the design, I actually just used a jelly roll pen or a white gel pen on top of it. So would definitely recommend that as a way to do this. And I'll showcase how we're going to put this on the stamp in a moment. And here's a little behind the scenes of how I create these as well. I have this Canson mixed media notebook or sketchbook. And a lot of my designs I just create in here, where I have a lot of different ones that I've done. As you can see the different ones that I was working with and creating. Here's some more of them if you wanted to see them all stamped out. But what I did is the same process each time, as you can see here. But before, I used to erase all of the bits that wouldn't be or I didn't want to be carved out. And now that I use that method with the white gel pen, been such a saver. I will say you can't erase the gel pen once you've done it, so you got to be kind of sure of what you want to do. but that's how I would do it. When it comes to the tools you're going to need to carve your stamp, this is the set that I've been using for years, and it's a block printing set from Speedball. And it's really worked for me, and it's quite affordable, so I would say definitely check this out if you wanted it. It comes with a lot of different supplies, but the things you're going to need is something to carve with. In this case, it comes with a carving tool, and you're going to need some kind of like rubber. In this case, I really like the Speedy Carve from Speedball. That's like, I would highly recommend it. But we are going to use this one today. I'm just going to go ahead and take all of this off, and we're going to go ahead and put our design on here. As you can see, I have several different ones that have already been carved off of here, but normally you'd get like a whole little block. Let me zoom you in so you can see a little closer. So what we're going to do is take your design. In this case, this is the design that I did. I didn't mention, but definitely use pencil and like underneath the gel pen. That's really important, because what we're going to do is transfer it onto the block. So what I'm going to do is, I like to not waste any little piece, so I'm going to try to really set it on top of here on the back side facing, or rather the front side facing the carving block, and find the best spot to put it, because once you set it down, you can't really go back because it starts to really get in there. And I'm just taking the back side of a brush and just sort of rubbing it on the surface so that it all transfers over, and that's what I like to do. Definitely be sure to get every little bit of it. And then when you're done, you're just gonna lift up. Oops, I accidentally got a little bit on the other side. You're just gonna lift up and you'll have your design right there. I'm gonna go ahead and do it with the lock as well, and I'll be right back. Okay, so there we are. There is our designs. So very easy way to transfer. It's not perfect, but it does the job. And then what we're gonna do is utilize our Speedball little one here. Again, I'm not sponsored by this. That's how I refer to it because I've just been using them for so long. And I'm just going to put in this comes with 3 different points, and I always start with the smallest one first. And all you have to do, if you've never used one of these, is undo this a little bit. And then you find where there's that little bit that's moving in there. And you set it in between there. You kind of sandwich it. And then close this up so it's nice and tight. And what I like to do is I carve around the entire outside of the stamp, right, the outside edge, and then any inner edges, and then I go in and do the little detail bits. But I'll go ahead and start on those and show you in a minute. So let's get right into it. Oh, and I'll also mention, as you're carving, it's really useful as well to think about your intention for the stamp as a way to kind of connect more with the stamp and be present as well and meditate on your intention. So for me, I really wanted to create a stamp for both locking things as well as unlocking things. And if they're used together, then I can kind of decide what that intention is, unlocking or locking. But I really wanted that sort of way of working with my magic, especially if I wanted to lock people out or protect something, as well as if I wanted to open opportunities for myself or perspectives. So that is what I'm going to be meditating on here. So let's go ahead and start carving. So when you're carving, you're going to want to be pushing away from yourself, not only to protect yourself, but also to kind of have a little bit more control. So I like to just start in a little corner here and just put a little bit of pressure, not a lot, to just start carving. And you want it kind of parallel to the surface, not like straight up and down carving into it. So we're going to just go around this a bit. Sorry if my head gets in the way. Sometimes you have to stop every once in a while. When it comes to that inner bit, I'm going to end up carving out more of it with a much bigger tool. So that'll probably be like this one here. But until then, I'm going to go ahead and do all the tiny little details, which again is going to be the exact same way I did the outline, but just the less pressure you use, the smaller the detail you're going to get. So the deeper you really put your carving tool in, the deeper the cut is going to be. And then I'll be back when I get farther along. Okay, so I have finished carving around the edges and on the inside. I would have showed you a time lapse, but I was having a really hard time doing it from this top-down view because I can't see it very well. It's quite a ways away from me. But now that I have the outline done and a little bit of the inside, as you can see, the inside of the keyhole and the inside of the part of the key here for the handle, I am just going to take a X-Acto knife here and cut on this random little board here, cut them out. So what I like to do, and like I said, I don't like to waste a lot of area, so I really try to cut close, but not too close to the I keep wanting to say charm, the stamp here, and we're going to just cut them apart from one another, being very careful as you do. It's going to need a little bit of pressure and strength, but some people would just waste that little area here, but I'm not going to waste it. So what I'm going to do is just sort of do a little cut like this, and then later on I can carve something into that. Same with this little tiny piece. Seems really tiny, but you'd be surprised what you can get in these teeny little triangles. And I'm going to do the same thing over here, trying to keep these larger pieces so that I can, it's pretty tough, so that I can utilize them later. So I'm going to finish cutting these out and show you what we do next. Okay. So what I'm going to do next now is I like to really pretty up the edges of each of my stamps. As you can see, they have like these nice little curved edges, these organic edges. I don't like to work with these like block edges here. And plus, if I were to stamp this right now, right, you're still going to have the raised top here be part of the stamp, and I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is take the biggest carving tool piece that I have. I think it's a number 5 if you're using this. I'm going to use this one and basically just carve around the edge, but going a lot deeper and kind of turning it at an angle like this to the edge of the stamp. So if I was going into right here, I'd really keep it not just straight up and down, but to an angle, so that when I'm carving, I am not carving into the stamp that I want to keep. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. All right, so we're going to do this one first. Again, starting here on the edge, I'm just going to go right into that trench that I started for the outline and just pull it right off. So it'll look kind of like that. So I'm going to do that around the edge of this one, and I'm going to do that all the way around the edge of this one, being very careful around different edges that I'm doing. And then probably just keep cleaning it up until I like how it looks. Okay, so I have finished both of my designs. I'm so excited. I have gone around the edges of all of them, made them have more of that organic shape. If you wanted to, when you are carving these, you could also, as I was carving them, it made me kind of think about this, you could also do them under a specific moon phase if you wanted to, or even a specific like astrological alignment. That could be a really great way to work with that, or a specific day of the week, right? You can really get into this. But as tradition with all of my stamps, I like to do a stamp sort of preview. So we're going to go ahead and do my very first stamp with each of these. And I don't know, which one should we start with first? I think I'm going to start with the key. All right, so I'm not really charging or doing this for any particular purpose or magical purpose, so I'm just going to do this just to stamp it and try it out. But let's see what happens. So, ooh, how exciting, look at that. All right, let's go ahead and do the very first stamp. Where am I gonna do it? I'm gonna do it down here. Just really get it in there. See how it turned out. Oh, okay. Well, first off, that was a. Let's just ignore that one. We're gonna do another one because my hand got caught on it and it moved. That's user error. Okay, now we're gonna do it. I'm actually gonna do it this way a little bit. It looks so good. Can you see that? Here, I'll move you up a little bit. Look at how good it turned out. I love it. See how I carved those inner edges? Whatever I carved out is what it ended up being. So that is the first one. Let's go ahead and do the lock. With these, I wanted to really utilize that the symbol of the closed eye and the opened eye to showcase that you could be unlocking or locking something, changing your perspective or closing it. Lots of different ways to use these. I'm very excited. Look at that, look at that. Okay, let's see how this goes. Ooh, I'm not even gonna lie. I think the stamp for the lock is my favorite. I really, really like it, but I love both of them. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. But I'm probably gonna go ahead and close off this this entire little kind of laid back tutorial. I'm sure there are better tutorials on how to carve a stamp out there, but these are sort of the ways in which you can infuse magic into them. And I will have lots of links down below, as I mentioned, about how you can see other people and how they've used their stamps and their ideas. And I will also just point it out real quick right now that I'm open to carving stamps for you. So if you have a specific custom stamp that you'd really like and maybe stamp making is not your thing, I haven't really done this before, but I'd love to open the idea of doing some carved stamps for you all. So if you're interested in that, if that's something you want to try out here with me, then definitely feel free to reach me through my email or through an Instagram DM and let me know your vision on what kind of stamp you'd like, how big, things like that, and we can workshop it together. So definitely let me know if that's something you're interested in. If you want to see more of the art magic that I get up to on this channel, I have like that entire playlist that you can check out, which will be listed down below. More information there all over the channel. And if you're interested in the pick a card readings that I do, feel free to check those out, and feel free to subscribe to the channel and this growing community of art magic, magicians, sorcerers, and witches, and just play around here on this space with me. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave it there. I'll also open up the comments to definitely let me know if you have specific ideas of other videos like this that you'd like to see outside of my stamp collection. If you want to see the other magical tools that I've used and created, such as my wand, or the different magical art magic tools that I utilize, different papers and supplies, how to create your own paper fodder, things like that, then definitely let me know in the comments down below, because I'd love to do more videos like this and I want to know what would be useful to each of you. But before I keep waffling on, because I could for ages, I'm going to go ahead and close this off. Thank you so much for hanging out here with me today, and I hope to see you in the next one, kindred spirits and magical souls. And until then, keep your eyes open and your mind wide to the magic that is all around you. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.